Hey, this is Ms. B. I am not at school today because my daughter is sick with a high fever, so that's why I'm not there. I know you're going to be excellent students for the sub, and today you will be able to add and subtract rational expressions. Remember, because this is a video, you can pause it whenever you think I'm going too fast. So first we're going to review adding and subtracting fractions. Oh, you should get this note taker from the sub. She has it, or he just grab it from the sub. So first we're going to review fractions. So when we add or subtract fractions, we need to get common denominators. The smallest common denominator that both 2 and 8 multiply to is 8. So what do I have to multiply 3 halves by to get to 8? That is 4 over 4. So 4 times 3 is 12, and 4 times 2 is 8. And then this one we don't have to change at all. It's just going to stay 5/8. And then when we add fractions, remember the top two numbers add together. So we get 12 plus 5, and the bottom one just stays the same. So 12 plus 5 is 17. So we get 17/8 as the answer. All right, I'm going to move my keyboard so I can write more comfortably. All right, now, same thing with these two. You guys can pause it and try it on your own, but I'm just going to keep going. The smallest number that 9 and 3 multiply to is 9, so that's going to be my least common denominator. So I'm going to multiply 7/3 by 3 over 3, because 3 times 3 is 9. So 4 over 9, this one's not going to change. And we're going to subtract 7/3. 7 times 3 is 21. And 3 times 3 is 9. So when, this is a 3. So then when we subtract 4 minus 21 on top, 4 minus 21 over 9. 4 minus 21 is negative 17/9. That's the answer. And 5/12 over minus 8/9. The LCD of 12 and 9 is 36. To get 12 to be 36, you have to multiply by 3 on the bottom. And if I'm going to multiply by 3 on the bottom, I got to multiply by 3 on the top. 3 times 5 is 15, and 3 times 12 is 36. And then on the bottom, to get 9 to be 36, I've got to multiply by 4. So 8 times 4 is 32. I'm going to minus 32, and 9 times 4 is 36. Now that we have the common denominator, we can subtract what's on top. So we get 15 minus 32 over 36. 15 minus 32 is negative 17/36. This doesn't simplify. Those are my 3 answers. Look, I didn't even plan for them to all be 17. When we add or subtract rational expressions, we follow 3 steps. First, we're going to find the least common denominator. Find the least common denominator. Or LCD. This will enable us to get the bottoms being the same. We're going to rewrite the expression with that LCD. I don't know what just happened. Rewrite expression with, why can't I write? And then add or subtract the numerator. Add or subtract. the numerator, and the numerator is the top of the fraction. All right, page 2, or not for you, but for me. So we're going to follow those 3 rules, and we're going to first find the LCD. So the LCD of this one, what's the smallest number that 8 and 2 both multiply to? It's 8. And how many x's am I going to need? I'm going to need an x squared and a y squared. So I want both of my denominators to look like that. So this is something that's important. So when I'm looking at this 2x squared, this side, what do I have to multiply by 2x squared by to get to 8x squared y squared? Pause it, think about it, but the answer is 4y squared. 2 times 4 is going to be 8. X squared times y squared is going to be x squared y squared. So if I multiply the bottom by 4y squared, I got to multiply the top by 4y squared. So 4 times 3 is going to be 12. Y squared times y is going to be y cubed. On the bottom, we're going to have that LCD. 4 times 2 is 8, and y squared times x squared is going to be x squared y squared. I give you this chance to think about what you have to multiply 8xy squared by to get to 8x squared y squared. I'll give you a second while I change colors. You have to multiply by an x on the top and the bottom for it to be 8x squared y squared. So when we do that, we're going to get 5zx or 5xz over 8x squared y squared. Now that I have the same denominator, I'm going to be able to add what's on the top of the fraction together. So 12y cubed plus 5xz, those aren't like terms, so I'm not going to be able to combine them at all. So this is just going to be 12y cubed plus 5xz over 8x squared y squared. And that's the answer. I give you this opportunity right now to look at this second problem and think about what the LCD would be. Pause it, think about it. What would it be? All right, the LCD is going to be 80a cubed b squared. The smallest number that 16 and 5 multiply to is 80. And then b squared b squared and a cubed are the biggest exponents that I see. So what would I have to multiply 16b squared by to get to 80a cubed b squared is going to be 5a cubed. If you multiply the bottom by 5a cubed, you have to multiply the top by 5a cubed. So 5 times 3 is 15. A cubed times a squared is, this is 15. A to the 5th, we add those exponents. And on the bottom, I'm going to have my LCD. 80a cubed b squared. 5 times 16 is 80, a cubed b squared. Now we're subtracting the second one. We want it to get to a cubed b squared. I'm going to have to multiply by 16 and a b. On the top, I will need to also multiply by 16b. So then I do that. 16 times 8 is 128. X and the b is going to be bx over, and then our common denominator, 80 a cubed b squared. And now we don't have like terms on top, so we don't have to worry about it, but we're going to have 15 a to the 5th minus 128 bx all over that common denominator, 80 a cubed b squared. And this is the answer. All right, you guys can try the next two, pause them, and then I will go over them right now. All right, so first we need to think about what our LCD is for this one. Our LCD would be, what's the smallest number that 15 and 5 both multiply to? It's 15. And x cubed y is going to be our LCD. So I need to make both of my denominators look like that. So what do I have to multiply? I don't have to multiply this fraction by anything. So this one is already 15x cubed y. So this one's just going to stay 3x over 15x cubed y. Now on the bottom, on this side, I need this one to be an x cubed. It's already an x to the first, so I need to multiply by an x squared. And 5 times what is 15? It's 3. So I need to multiply the top and the bottom by 3x squared. 3x squared. 3 times 4 is 12. I have my x squared and a z. On the bottom, I've got 5 times 3 is 15. X to the first times x squared is x cubed, and then my y. And now I'm just subtracting the top minus the bottom. So we're going to get 3x minus 12x squared z. These aren't like terms, so I can't combine them, over 15x cubed y. And that's the answer. All right, on this one, what is that? I need to multiply by, I need to get to a common denominator. The LCD of 12 and 9 is 36. So I need to make, it's just like the one that we did earlier on the very top of the page. So we have to multiply 12 by 3 to get to 36. So this is going to be 3a squared over 36. And then we have to multiply 9 by 4. I don't know what this bar is. Ignore it. So 4 times a squared is 4a squared over 36. Now I combine those. I'm going to have 3a squared plus 4a squared over 36. Now you want to be careful because these right here are like terms. So we can combine them. So this is going to go into, what's 3a squared plus 4a squared? That's 7a squared over 36. And that's the final answer. All right, on to the back. We're going to do the same thing. Oh, I want you to skip the first 2 problems and go down to the bottom 2 problems. So we're going to do this one, the x minus 1 over x squared minus x minus 6 first before we do those top 2 problems. So the first thing we have to do is find the LCD. We do that by factoring. So what are 2 numbers that multiply to negative 6 and add up to negative 1? They are negative 3 and 2. So this part right here is going to factor into x minus 3 and x plus 2. That's what this factors into, is this. So if I want to factor the other side, this 5x plus 10, that's going to be a GCF. I can factor out a 5, and that leaves me with x plus 2. So my LCD, I need an x minus 3. Let's do a different color. I need an x minus 3. I need an x plus 2. And then from this one, I already have an x plus 2, but I don't have a 5, so I need that 5. So I need both of these to have all of these components. This one is, so let's write it in factored form. I've got that first blue one is going to be x minus 1 on top. It already has an x minus 3 and an x plus 2. And then my second one in factored form is going to look like minus 4 over 5 times x plus 2. The thing that's missing from my LCD on this side is the 5. So we're going to multiply this fraction by 5 over 5, and this is in parentheses like that. So when we distribute that out, we get 5x minus 5 on top of our LCD. 5 times x minus 3 over x plus 2. We're subtracting, and now on this side of the fraction, we have to multiply by the part of the least common denominator that's missing. We already have an x plus 2, we have the 5, we need to multiply by the x minus 3. So this side we're going to multiply by x minus 3. Now we're going to distribute that out. 4x minus 12 over our common denominator, 5 times x plus 2 over x minus 3. So now we have common denominators, so we can go ahead and make it one fraction. This part is probably the trickiest part, or not tricky, but we have to be careful. 5x minus 5, and we're going to subtract that whole second part, 4x minus 12, over that common denominator, 5 times x minus 3 and x plus 2. When we're subtracting all of this, we have to distribute that negative. So it's really like we are going to, or 4x minus, or 5x minus 4x, which is just x, and then negative 5 minus a negative 12, which would be like a positive 12. So negative 5 plus 12 would be 7. So plus 7 on top, and then the least common denominator, 5 times x minus 3 and x plus 2. Whew, that's a lot. All right, let's do it again. Sweet. So again, we're going to factor these two things. I'm going to write it in factored form. What are two numbers that multiply to negative 35 and add up to negative 2? That one would be, we're going to keep the 6 on top. This is going to be y minus 7. It would be negative 7 and 5. So we get y minus 7 and y plus 5. On this side, we need two numbers that multiply to 20 but add up to 9. That's 5 and 4. So this one is going to be 4 over y plus 5 and y plus 4. All right, now we need to figure out what our LCD is going to be. What's the least common denominator? I'm going to need to have both of the factors from the left-hand side. So I need a y minus 7. I also need a y plus 5. And I need any factors I'm missing from this side. I already have the y plus 5, so I just need to add the y plus 4. All right, so when I'm thinking about what I need to multiply that, I'm looking at which factor is missing. On this side, the y plus 4 is missing, so I need to multiply the top and the bottom by y plus 4. And on this side, the thing that's missing is the y minus 5. So I need to multiply top and bottom by y minus 5, which means I'm going to distribute the 6 first. So 6y plus 4 is 6y plus 24 over my LCD, which is y minus 7 over y plus 5 over y plus 4. And I'm adding this time. So then I'm distributing my 4, so I get 4y minus 20 over my common denominator, y plus 5, y plus 4. Damn it, I did it wrong. Fudge. This should be, I should have multiplied by y minus 7 over here. Darn it. I'm not redoing the video. Y minus 7 and y minus 7. So then I get 4y minus 28 instead of 20. Okay. And then this would be y minus 7. All right. Okay, so then I'm just combining like terms on the top. 6y and 6y plus 4y is 10y, and 24 plus a negative 28 is minus 4. And then on top of all of my common denominator, y minus 7, y plus 5, and y plus 4. And that's the answer. All right, these next two problems are more difficult just because we have to use AC method to factor. All right, first, let's factor this first one. 6x minus 18, I'm just looking at the bottom, is going to factor into 6 times x minus 3. That one wasn't so bad. This one, the first thing I see is that they all have a 2, so if I factor out a 2, I'm left with 2x squared minus 7x plus 3. And now I'm going to do AC method. So 2 times 3 is 6. What are two numbers that multiply to 6 but add up to negative 7? That's negative 1 and negative 6. So I split that middle term up into those two terms. So I get 2x squared minus 6x minus x plus 3. And then I do grouping. What can I pull out of the first two terms? I have a 2x, and that leaves me with x minus 3. If I want this side to also be x minus 3, I have to pull out a negative 1. So my two factors are going to be 2x minus 1 and an x minus 3. And I can't forget this 2 right here that I had originally. So my LCD in this case is going, like, what's the smallest number that 2 and 6 both multiply to? That would be 6. I need an x minus 3. And then what's missing from over here is the 2x minus 1. So this is going to be my LCD. Oh, that was tough. Now the rest of it is the same. I have 5 over 6 times x minus 3. And I'm subtracting x minus 1 over 2 times 2x minus 1 and x minus 3. I think to myself, what do I need to multiply this denominator by? This denominator by to get to my least common denominator. It already has a 6. It already has an x minus 3. So I have to multiply by 2x minus 1 on the top and on the bottom. 2x minus 1. And on this side, what I'm missing is I need this to be a 6. So I have to multiply this side by 3. 3 over 3. All right. So when I do that, I'm going to switch back to blue. I have to distribute. 2x times 5 is 10x. 5 times negative 1 is negative 5 over 6 times 2x minus 1 and x minus 3 minus 3x minus 3 over 3 times 2 is 6. And then I get the 2x minus 1 and x plus 3. And then I'm just combining, or I'm subtracting. So what's 10x? And I'm looking at like terms. So I'm looking at 10x minus 3x is going to be 7x. And then I have negative 5 minus a negative 3, which is negative 5 minus a negative. It's like plus. Negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. And then I'm going to put it all over my LCD. 6 times 2x minus 1 and x minus 3. And that's my answer. All right, one more time, and then we're done. 12x plus 3. I can pull a 3 out of there. So this is going to be 3 times 4x plus 1. I have to factor this. I can't pull anything out of that, so I need to think of two numbers that multiply. 4 times 5 is 20. That multiply to 20 but add up to 21. That looks like it's going to be 20 and 1. So I break that middle term up. 4x squared plus 20x plus x plus 5. And now I'm factoring by grouping. What can I pull out of the first two terms? That's a 4x, and I'm left with x plus 5. On this side, I already have x plus 5, but I need to pull out something that's a positive 1. So these factors are 4x plus 1 and x plus 5. So I'm just focusing on this part and this part. My LCD has to be 3, 4x plus 1, and x plus 5. I'm going to rewrite these fractions with the factored form. So I already have x minus 8 over 4x plus 1 and x plus 5. And I'm adding 6 times 3, 4x plus 1. Now I'm multiplying by what's missing. The only thing that's missing on this side is 3. So I have to multiply this fraction by 3 over 3. I have to multiply this fraction by x plus 5 over x plus 5. So now I'm distributing. What's 3 times x? I have 3x. 3 times negative 8 is negative 24. And now on the bottom I have 3 times 4x plus 1 and x plus 5. Plus, and now I'm distributing on this side, 6x plus 30 over my common denominator, 3 times 4x plus 1 and x plus 5. And now I'm just combining like terms. 3x plus 6x is 9x. Negative 24 plus 30 is 6. So on the bottom, I'm going to have 3 times 4x plus 1, and then I have an x plus 5. And there we go. We're all done.